there guys, thanks for joining us for another top 5 or top 10 if you combine us together.
Assuming there's no overlap.
Yeah, edition of our games played for last year 2018. So as usual, got Martin with me and we're going to go over our new to us games. So it could be an old game, but it's new that we played for the first time this year and what our top 5 games of the year was. So pretty interesting year, wasn't it?
It was. I mean, first of all, I'll say that I've done a small realignment this year, and I decided to screw that Christmas to Christmas thing off for the last 2 or 3 years, and I've just basically gone. So basically, it's last year plus the week between Christmas and New Year, 2000.
We always end up getting a lot of games played over that period, anyway.
Exactly, yeah, and that was part of the reason I did it as well. I just thought it'd make it easier. But yeah, I mean, what you said about new to us games as well. I actually found that most of mine are actually pretty close to being released last year as well. So, I mean, I don't know, that says more about our gaming habits, maybe?
Yeah. All of mine
recently.
I think, well, maybe 44 out of the 5 are.
Yeah,
but the thing is like with the reviewing thing as well, it's like you get to play a lot of the new games. And it's very seldom that, in the way the culture of board gaming is at the moment, it's like the cult of the new and all that, we tend to play a lot of new games.
Well, we have an acquisition disorder, don't we, as well?
Yeah.
Where, I mean, several of us just want to buy all the new cool hotness, and so we get a lot of new games coming in as well.
And our gaming group is lucky because we've got about 12 regular gamers,
yeah,
and all of them are avid gamers. So we get into the situation where we've got an influx of new games on a regular basis. So it's fun though. I mean, we get to play a lot of new games, a lot of different games, and we also know amongst our group who likes what type of game. So you have a good chance of enjoying the games when you play with them.
Yeah, very much so. Yeah, I mean, I always ask you who's coming on a gaming session, so I can kind of tailor the games I bring, because I know some people like certain things and others don't. So
I'll tell you one thing. On my list, I think I was saying to Martin just before we started, my I would say my top 2 were definite. Like these are going on the list, and then from 3 to 10 or even 3 to 15, it could have been any one of those games.
Yeah, I found exactly the same. My number 1 was 100%. There was no wiggle room in that at all, and then the rest changed several times. Some dropped out as like a few weeks ago, and new ones came in, and I reckon I could have easily done a list of up to 10 without too much hassle. It was really difficult coming down to those last sort of that last 2 to 5 basically. And
I think the difficulty, because they were all good games obviously, but they weren't outstanding games. They were, you know, like for example, like one that's not on my list is Gizmos, but it was really close.
Yeah, it was on my short list.
Yeah,
as well.
it's a really fun, interesting game. We've just reviewed it recently. And it's you would say it's a permanent 8 out of 10 almost for everyone.
Well, I scored it 8 out of 10 in our
we
review.
all did, and and but it didn't make the list because it's in that group of games like that. You know, there's like 10 games of all really good, solid 8 out of 10 games, but there wasn't many that were like 9, 10 out of 10 games.
When I started making this list, I was thinking, has this year been, or 2018, been a particularly good year? And I thought, my gut reaction was no, I don't think it has. But then when I started to put the list together, I think I changed my mind quite a lot, to be honest, because I think actually it has been a good year. There's been a lot of really solid releases coming out. Maybe nothing like your Terraforming Mars that everyone's gone, holy shit, everyone's got to get it kind of thing. But yeah, there's been an awful lot of year 8 out of 10 type, you know, really solid games that are going to be perennials on people's shelves. You know, nothing that's blowing people away. Maybe a couple of exceptions, but generally speaking, there's been an awful lot of really solid games, and that's, like you said, what's made it really hard.
And I mean, that to me is a really good year when you can have, like, you could play a whole week of solid games, and every day you would be playing really good, solid games.
Absolutely, yeah, yeah. That's not very good for replayability of things.
Alright, so, shall we get started on number 5?
Sure, you want to go first?
Okay. So, like we were saying, I'll do an honourable mention first.
Okay.
Because we haven't reviewed this, but we might do that soon. My honourable mention, and it's why I call it honourable mention, is because it's unique and interesting and completely different to what's out there at the moment. And it almost made my top 5 very close, which is Keyforge. Obviously by Fantasy Flight Games, signed by Richard Garfield, the king of 2-player card games, almost certainly.
Well, arguably the inventor of them.
Yeah. I really like Keyforge. I think it's a really interesting, unique take on what is effectively a head-to-head card game. Because I can't believe anyone who's watching this video doesn't know what this is, but it's a pre-made, like a pre-con constructed deck where you just buy the $10, buy it, take it out of the box, play the game, and you can buy as many boxes as you want. You're never going to get the same deck as anyone else. That's crazy.
That's really good. I mean, I'll stop you there because it's my number 5.
Oh, really?
Yes.
Well, there you
that was this one game was the one that initially wasn't on my list, and as the weeks went on and I played it more and more, I realised it has to go on my list because I do think it's great. I mean, I've got a collectible card game background anyway. I used to play Magic back in the day, and then Vites and Versus, and numerous. I've tried a lot of different CCGs. And so whenever one comes out, I think CCGs have sort of had their day anyway, really. But when something like that comes out, I'm always going to be kind of intrigued to at least see it. And this is very much like an evolution of the CCG, if you like. The unique deck, I think, is a really interesting, cool idea. I really like that, and it's got that collectability nature of when you buy a deck, you're fascinated to see what's in it, and that's something that I really like about CCGs. You know, opening that booster and seeing what your rare is and that, and it's got that on a deck-wide scale. And I think the game is actually really good as well. It's not overly complex. There are annoying few issues in kind of like the rules and like how some timing things work and things like that, but that will be ironed out as you know the weeks pass because it's still fairly new. It's only been out 2 or 3 months, isn't it really? But the game itself, I think it's really fascinating. You've got 3 factions in your deck, and at the start of your turn you choose a faction, and that's what you can play and you can activate, and you discard cards of that house. So if you have a lot of that faction in your hand, you obviously choose that and you put them all out on the table, and then you replenish at the end of your turn. But you might not draw any of that house again, but obviously you've got an awful lot of that on the table. So then you're in that kind of weird position of, do I choose the house that I've got out where I can then use them, or do I choose a different house where I can play new cards? And also, do you play cards, if you choose a house in your hand, for combos? Do you keep it back for combos, or do you just play it because, you know, it's more efficient to effectively get rid of cards from your hand? And that's basically the game. There's some really interesting combos between cards and between houses as well, things like that. And playing against an opponent, you're always prepared to be surprised, I think. I don't think I've ever played a game of someone, unless I've played against the deck already, I've never played a game where I haven't gone, what the hell is that? Or that's a great combination of 2 things together and things like that. That's awesome. And it's still surprising me, and that's that uniqueness that's come up. There's no neck decking, none of that crap. It's all basically, let's see what we've got. And yes, unfortunately, you can buy a deck and go, this is shit. But I don't think anyone's done that necessarily yet. There's definitely ones been stronger than others, but I don't think anyone's pulled a deck that's gone, this is garbage, you know, get rid of it. And also, obviously, you can sell it on as well. Some of the unique names and stuff might be people in your family, or your surname, or you know, something like that. And so you might want to acquire those decks. You might want to go out and hunt them and things like that. It's really fascinating, and I think it's really interesting for that reason. And I love playing it.
I take my hat off to Fantasy Flight. They come up with some really unique. I mean, they were the ones that came up with the LCG in the first place. Yeah. You know, because TCGs.
I think what they're doing, as I said, I think CCGs have had their day, and what they're looking is new ways to tap into that market, because that market's still there. Yeah. Just that people are tired of the CCG format now, and so they're looking at how they can tap into that vein. And you just see how many decks have been submitted for Keyforge now. There's knocking on 500,000 now. Yeah. The last time I checked, it was over 400 certainly. And okay, that's unlikely to be 400,000 unique players, because I mean, us alone have got over 10 decks just between the 2 of us. But regardless of which, that's a lot of unique as well decks out there for this. So yeah,
that's over 400 grand for Fantasy Flight.
Over 4 million. It's $10 a box, I believe. Yeah. And that's the other thing as well. The buy-in is incredibly cheap. The starter deck is a huge waste of money, in my opinion. It's ridiculously expensive, and I can see Fantasy Flight revisiting that, bringing out a new starter set that comes with the tokens and whatnot, and they do away with those.
What? You think Fantasy Flight are going to bring in a new starter set for a game they make?
But a rejigged one where they do away with those sort of standardised training decks, because there's no point. No one's going to spend 30, 35 quid on a box where half of it, after 2 games, you just go, well, they're done, throw them away, it's pointless. So I can see them revisiting that and bringing that back out. But yeah, the buy-in, basically, you need one of these and then some tokens to represent your amber and your keys and stun and things like that, and that's it. And I used a bunch of wooden cubes, and they are completely fine unless you're playing a tournament. That's it.
Even
so
so
one deck, it was like £9 or something. It's what a cheap buy-in.
No, I agree. I mean, it's by no means perfect. I mean, I've found some flaws in the game for various things, but even still, I think it's a great.
Magic is not perfect.
Well, exactly,
but it's still phenomenally good.
Yeah, exactly. And I'm super happy with this. I can't wait to see what they're going to do with it, because not only from a I'm enjoying playing the game, but just from a side of how they're going to market it and bring more stuff.
Yeah,
I'm really curious to see how they push.
The expansions thing is something I'm really intrigued by. How are they going to address that? Because obviously you can't expand an existing deck. It's impossible by the way the nature it is, unless they do some kind of weird print on demand thing. But the logistics of that just blow my mind. So I can't see how they can do that.
It's gonna, in my mind, the only thing I can see is them just bring out another 7 houses, which is
potential, which is unfortunate because it'll be a bit. Well, it's just another core set basically.
Exactly,
that you can play together. But I mean, the artwork as well is phenomenally good. They've done a great job. I don't think I've seen one card in there that I thought the artwork was a bit crap.
No, same.
All excellent.
Really good, yeah.
So. Jason's honourable mention, my number 5.
That's going to be interesting to edit. What's your honourable mention?
Well, the one that I bumped, I actually had a few that I bumped off the list, but the one that I'm going to mention that I bumped off, and I think partly that was because I haven't played it enough to fully gauge how I felt about it. But my initial reaction of the few games I have had of it have been extremely positive, is Architects of the West Kingdom. I think...
Garfield Games.
I'm never sure if it's Gartpill or Garfield, by the way. Anyway, Gartpill by Shem Phillips. He did the Raiders series, Shipwrights, Raiders, and Explorers of the North Sea ones. He's done a great job with Architects of the West Kingdom. I initially didn't back it as well on Kickstarter because I was concerned it was going to be a bit too similar to the kind of the North Sea ones, but it wasn't at all. And he's done a really good job of that. It's really clever. The way it's a worker placement game, where you start with all your workers, which never happens, and then you place them on the board, and you don't have like a retrieval phase like you do in most worker placement games. The only way they come back is if they basically get arrested, they get captured by other players. So you need that to happen.
And then you bail them out from jail.
Yeah, unless you capture your own, of course, in which case you just get them back. But I mean, that's a really interesting mechanism there, and you do need it to happen. So it's not like someone's screwing you over. They're going to get a benefit from it, and there are times when it can hurt you by that happening. If you trigger a black market phase when you've got a load of people in prison stuff, that's bad. But generally speaking, you need it to happen. It's like that kind of enclosed economy thing. It's just a really solid game. It's not like your Pillars of the Earth or something where you're doing essentially the same thing. It's very different. I've not played a game like it. And it being Garfield, they've used the Micho, the artist, and like that. So it's got that kind of familiarity, if you like, there. But component-wise as well, it's really nice. But yeah, the game's great, and that's one we are going to do a review of, I think, because
the thing is, Shem, he's a really clever designer. I mean, I thought when I played Raiders for the first time, I thought it was really interesting because worker placement always has standard tropes. You got your workers, you go here, you get your stuff.
And
later on,
you go there basically.
Exactly, yeah. And then you go somewhere else and get more workers to perpetuate your turns. I mean, it's a standard thing that works. But with Raiders, you never have more than 2 workers. You go somewhere, you do that thing, then you remove something and you do that thing.
And the strength of them as well changes, doesn't it? They become more experienced, essentially.
I remember playing that and thinking, wow, this is clever. This is really interesting. That's completely different, innovative, like we were saying with Keyforge. And then, of course, Architects came out. And that, again, was really innovative. I mean, the fact that you start with all your workers and not just 3 or 4.
It's 20.
Yeah, you've got a ton of workers. And you just go crazy, like, I'll put them down here, and you get a perpetuating, like, I'll go here, get more and more and more.
Yeah, that's how they've done it, isn't it? If you go on a space and say, get a wood, and then you go on that space again, now you've got 2 workers there, so you get 2 wood. And then you go on that space again, then you get 3 wood. But then someone's going to start thinking, I'm going to arrest him, because
he's got
you arrest all of one faction, essentially, in a space. And so when there's a lot of people there, it's more efficient to do that. Very, like you say, very innovative. He had a collaborator this time. I can't remember what his name is. Apologies. But I don't know how much involvement that guy had, but that's a good team. They need to keep working together. Cause
if I understand correctly, the one they got on Kickstarter at the moment, the sci-fi one, which I can't think of the name in. Sorry, I'll put the names at the bottom. That one is the same duo again.
Okay. Yeah.
And as far as I understand, the guy who's collaborating with, he's the main designer.
The lead designer,
yeah,
basically.
and
Okay.
Shem's the
the
one.
other way around than Architects.
I'm not sure, but I know for this one it is.
Interested to see what they do with Paladins as well, because obviously Paladins is coming this year. I know nothing about it beyond obviously it's the second of the trilogy of the West Kingdom ones, like they've done with the North Sea, and I believe again it's worker placement. That's it.
If they have a tie-in like they did with Rune Saga,
yeah.
I'd be happy as well, because the interesting thing with the Rune Saga was Raiders was a brilliant game, really really good. Shipwrights
was okay.
Yeah, it was a bit of a take that, sort of. And then
I know people hate it.
Yeah, exactly. Really. I didn't think it was that great when we played, But Explorers, I thought was good, just a bit light.
Yeah.
But then when you add Rune Saga together, it almost elevates them all a little bit.
Absolutely, 100%. It elevated all three of the games, and the prospect of that happening with the West Kingdom ones, when we don't know what the other two are like yet at this point, but that first one is amazing. I think probably better than Raiders of the North Sea. And if that's the case, and it's going to get elevated because of a campaign kind of mechanic over the top, well, great. Can't wait for that. That'd be excellent.
You also need to slow down, mate, because we've not even played the Raiders expansions yet.
No, we haven't, no.
And now we've got the sci-fi one out now, and then Paladins coming soon.
Well, I haven't backed the sci-fi one yet. I have got it watched, though. It's only January. I can't be blowing my budget on Kickstarter already.
2 weeks into the year. All right, so let's go to my number 5, because your number 5 was Keyforge.
It was indeed.
Yeah. So my number 5 is Bunny Kingdom from My Yellow Games. Now, this obviously didn't come out in 2018. I think it came out in 2017.
I think so. Yeah, pretty close though.
Yeah.
I mean,
and it's a pretty light game, but there's also Richard Garfield as well. I just realized. Yeah. So I got to talk about Bunny Kingdom. Is not going to blow anyone's mind away. It's not that brilliant. This is like we were saying in the beginning, the 8 out of 10 game.
I think you're being overly harsh there. I think it's very good.
But I really love it. It's so simple. I love drafting anyway, and this is effectively just a drafting game. It's funny, I was going to mention it when we were talking about Keyforge. I was saying that one of the things I used to love about all the CCGs we used to play before was booster draft.
Yeah.
You could get like the same principle of buying, just turning up to a shop, buy a £10 deck and play. You used to do with the booster draft. Just pay 10 get 3 boosters, draft a deck and play.
Yep.
So it's the same principle. But this game is obviously a board game version of that, essentially. You're basically drafting bunnies, take control of an area. I don't know if you can see that, but obviously... Have we done a review for this? I can't remember if we have.
I don't think so.
We need to do that ASAP then. And it's just so much fun. It's such a massive stack of cards, so you never see all the cards. So there's a little bit of a pusher-like gambling thing with the little trading camps, the hobo
100
camps.
squares on your grid, isn't there?
Yeah.
So,
and there's so many different variant ways to score. You can obviously take control of areas, make bigger areas, take control of different resources like fish, carrots, stone, emeralds, those type of things. You can collect relics and equipment. You can have all these end-of-game scoring things. And the scores can vary massively, but it's not like a runaway leader sort of thing. There's a lot
they tend to vary between games. Like one game you have like quite tight, low, sort of 50s scoring, and another game you might have 100 points on top of that sort of thing. But everyone's within the same sort of bracket, and I have no idea how that works.
No, exactly. And I've not played a dud game of this, and I don't think I've played with anyone. I've played maybe half a dozen games of this already, and I don't think I've met anyone who went, that was shit. That was just dumb.
I found one person that was a bit meh.
Who was that?
Barney.
Oh, really?
Don't know why.
I
mean, myself, I've got a big soft spot for drafting anyway, and yeah, I think it's great. Really scratches that itch. The area control's good. It's light enough that, sort of light or non-gamers can quite happily play it as well. It's not too complex, and it's got a kind of quite a charm to it as well. Because you're playing for the position of Big Ears, I think it is.
Yeah.
Like a king's advisor or something like that. And it's just these cute little bunny kind of plastic token things, basically, that sit on the board to show that you control the spaces.
I mean, it says 14 plus on the box, but I think that's more to do with some sort of European law or anything.
Yeah, it's exactly that.
Because
it goes through fairly stringent checks, apparently, if you put a lower age range on it.
I mean, my son's 7 and 11. One feels like he's on 14 already. they'll play this easily, no problem. It's so simple. It's literally, you've got a hand of 7 cards?
10 cards.
10 cards, take 2, pass them on, and their choices in that 10 obviously diminish as they go along.
Even on the first 10, it's an agonising choice. That's one of the things I really like about drafting. It's that agony of choice of, do I take this one or do I take this one? And you get that on every single hand.
And then it's not just about what you need. You look to the people around you and you go, well, I know if I give this to him, he's going to score massively.
Particularly later on, like on the second round or the third round, you think, well, if he gets that spot there, he's linked up that massive settlement and he's going to get a huge score. And there it is in my hand. But these 2 I really want. Yeah. Do I take that and deny him it, denying myself one of these cards that are great for me? That's what makes it so good, I think.
And there's also little funny moments as well when someone uses one of those hobo camps and you draw the card and you're like, do I take this just to spite them?
Yeah. Well, it's exactly that same thing, isn't it? Yeah. But it's kind of low-level spite drafting. It's not a long game either, so I think people are more easy to accepting of getting screwed either, should we say.
And it's such a minor screw as well, because it's not like I'm denied. Like you still get your 2 cards and you still get more bonuses from there. It says 45 minutes on the box. I mean, it's easily played in a half an hour with people who played it before.
Well, I mean, that's basically 15 minutes around, isn't it?
Yeah.
Which I think is fair, shuffling out the cards and whatnot as well. What I have found is I'm truly terrible at it. I don't think I've won a game of it, and I think I've come last in most of my games.
But yeah, Bunny Kingdom from Yellow Games. It's super fun. I would love for Yellow to make an expansion for this. They did make a big board version, which I thought was unnecessary. To be honest.
I do as well. Actually, I quite like the small board because it gives you that cramped feeling. Because obviously the idea is your bunnies are popping up all over the place. They're making like bunnies, obviously. Well, that's the point of it, isn't it? So when you get a massive board where there's loads of space in it, I feel that you're losing that sense of crampedness.
And obviously the big board doesn't fit in the box, does it?
I don't know. I haven't got it. I haven't even bothered looking
out
for it.
I don't think
I don't see the point of it. Yeah.
I mean, it's nice to have cool deluxe things like that, you know, big mouse mat type material boards or whatever. But I think it just, and it's not an expensive game, is it? What, about $30?
I can't remember. It was a while ago. I bought it now, but
it's his copy. I need to get one. Anyway, that's my number 5, Bunny Kingdom. Go check it out. All right, what's your number 4?
Right, my number 4. So we've actually swapped now.
Yeah, I know. Because you ruined it.
I ruined it. My number 4 is this one here that I keep trying to get Jason to play, but as yet we haven't done it. So this was a bit of a whim Kickstarter back, actually. Pixie Green, this is, by Game Brewer. I think I was drawn largely to the theme, but actually when we played it, I played it at Aircon. A friend of mine taught it to us, and I was blown away by how solid a game it was. It's a kind of the game screws you, and other people can lightly screw you, but it's sort of a worker placement game where essentially you're trying to appease this really malevolent pixie queen. You play pixies, and she's a proper bitch. So you give basically offerings, and you make jewellery for her and things like that, and you're trying to ascend as well and get. It's basically a very Euro, cube pushy type game, but the theme's actually really good in it as well. You start off with sprites locked up in the mines, and they're working for you. You basically, for each sprite you have in there, you can draw from this bag, and they kind of mine stuff. And if you draw rocks, you can lock other sprites into the mine, and then you just kind of elevate from there. Whilst you're doing like the worker placement thing, at the end of each round, you have to kind of put forward certain goods and things like that, but you're trying to kind of push your luck slightly because you don't know what other people are putting in. You're trying to push your luck with gold and silver because you can raise up on those tracks and things like that, which is great. But if nobody puts forward the thing that she wanted, then everybody gets screwed. The score track goes 20 to 0, then 0 to -60. So that'll show you that you're unlikely to get a positive score at the end. And if you hit -60, you're done. You're into the pit of oblivion, and you've lost. That's it. It's hilarious. One of the spaces you can go on literally and just roll a dice and whip someone to lose points and things like that. It's a hilarious game. But mechanically, it's so solid, and I think it's one of the better ones to come out of Kickstarter for a long time, actually. And I think it's kind of underrated as well. I think probably because it's Kickstarter, it's not actually as found as wide an audience as perhaps it should. But it's such a cool game. I really like it, and that's Pixie Green, my number 4.
It's interesting. I mean, obviously, I've not heard much of Game Brewer or the designer Rudy
Gens or something like that.
Sorry, Rudy, if I said that badly.
Rudy.
Yeah. But I did see this at the expo. Someone was demoing it there, and it was by a bigger publisher. So I wonder if someone else has taken it.
It's possible, yeah. I mean, it happened with King's Abbey, didn't it?
Yeah.
So maybe, and it deserves it. I think it deserves a wider audience. They've done a really good job with it. The components are really nice and all that, and just that theming.
Very colourful looking at the back.
Yeah, I mean, the theming is one of the things. Look, our other half to be like, oh yeah, let's play that, and then they'd play it, and I'm like, this is vicious. But it's not just like the other players sort of lightly screw over each other, and then the game just beats you down, and like every time, like, oh, this is awful. It's hilarious.
I've got to try this.
I mean, look at the Q on the Queen there. Is a whip. That tells you everything. She's horrible.
No, I got to give this a go.
It's such a good game, man. It really is.
Alright, my number 4 is a game you've not played yet either. And it's from Unkarma Games called Tales of Glory.
Oh, this is a new one, isn't it?
Yeah. I remember Unkarma, I was talking to Unkarma at Expo and they were telling me that this was coming out. This is designed by Romain Chastain. And it sounded really cool. It's basically you building a legend of your hero. So it's a tile placement game. Every turn everyone has 8 action selection cards of numbers 1 to 8, and then you blind bid which one you want, and then you reveal them, and then you get that tile, and then you pay the resources, and the different resources are gold, potions, strength, and magic, those type of things, and then you add the tile to your legend, and then those legends clue together to form up new combos, new victory point scoring, new resources. Some of them are monsters that you have to fight. Some of them are villages that you go village. It's just a really inoffensive, fun, bright, interesting game. It's got a lot of choices. The artwork is beautiful. There's a lot of variety in the gameplay. I mean, every character that you play is asymmetric, so they have different starting. There's not that asymmetric because you get different starting resources. And they're skilled in something, like you might have a warrior who's better at fighting, that sort of thing. So it's easier to do the fighting challenges and those type of things. It's just a really good game. I mean, I've played it half a dozen times already. It's fun, it's quick, it's really simple, it's nice to look at, it's got loads of really cool components, the insert is really good. It's just a really good game. I really enjoy it every time I played it.
It's interesting, I'm just looking as well, this is another 45-minute game. It seems like you're favouring the sort of lighter, sort of mid-length, sort of filler plus type level games at the moment.
I was thinking that as well, because I've got a few, like I'm obviously Bunny Kingdom and Tales of Glory. These are the same sort of weight game, and I mentioned Gizmos, that's the same sort of weight game. I've got a few others on my list as well. Wildlands, that was another one that was a similar sort of weight. But then I do have 2 bigger ones on my list that didn't make the final cut, which was Prehistory and Brass.
Okay, yep.
And
Brass was on my... that's Brass Lancashire. I've not played Brass Birmingham yet. Yeah. But yeah, it was on mine as well. And that is definitely not a light game.
No, and Prehistory was just... I remember when we were
That's Tony's one, wasn't it?
Yeah, we explained it, my head just went...
Yeah, it got to a point where we just wanted to go, Tony, should we just start? Because... I'm at saturation point.
Yeah, I can't take any more.
Yeah,
both of those were really good games. I really enjoyed them, and those were obviously much longer, much heavier games. But it's interesting. Someone mentioned on one of my reviews the other day that I think it was on Gizmos. They were saying that Gizmos isn't their favorite game of the year, but it's a solid 8 out of 10 that they would play more often than their favorite games of the year.
Yeah.
And I'm finding that that's the situation here.
Yeah.
You know.
Also, I think possibly the people you're playing with probably makes a big difference as well. We're finding we're playing with our partners more, and they don't want to sit down for 4 hours and play the same game more often than not, and things like that. So. And
also sometimes when you're doing like sometimes like say you and your partner come over and we're doing a couples gaming, we play these type of games more often than not. You know, like Villainous.
Because we have children and we can't sit for 5 hours.
And play
Civ or something because our children would set fire to the house.
But yeah, going back to this, I mean Unkarma do very good, solid family weight games. This is no doubt different to that. It's beautiful. It's got really nice components, really fun gameplay, and I'm hoping they bring out more stuff for this too.
Think it's easily expandable then?
Yeah, really easy. You can bring in new characters, new different tiles. Because it's really interesting as well, the way you link the tiles together, they've got these little chevrons.
Yeah, I was looking at the back of that.
And some of them have got keys, and then you need the keys to unlock the treasure chests on your maps and stuff like that. And then, like if you, some of them, the villages, like say for example, as a village might say, if you connect this to a monster, you get this bonus.
Okay.
So you're constantly deciding like what is the better way to do this. But because the game is quite tight on terms of resources and points, you never know who's winning. It's like you think you're going, oh, I'm doing really well here, and then all of a sudden you're like, oh, okay, I came fourth and I lost by 2 points.
Do you think it's a similar theme to something like Role Player, where you're kind of creating a character kind of thing, whereas obviously in that you're creating the background, if you like,
yeah,
of character?
I can see what you mean. This is more like the legend of what you did, the heroes you met, the villages you went to, the monsters you fought, that sort of thing. Whereas obviously Role Players, this is my sword, but a similar sort of theme, I suppose.
Yeah.
But yeah, really good, and it looks pretty cool as well on the table when you got all your tiles laid out.
Is it a bit of a space hog?
It is, yes.
Because it plays to 5 as well.
Yeah, and each person is building their own tile. I've not played 5 yet, but yes, it does take a lot of space. So there we go, my number 4, Tales of Glory from Uncommon Games. Check it out.
Do you want to do your number 3 first?
Alright, get it out quickly. Alright, so I've not actually played this one enough, I've got to admit, but I've really enjoyed it. We played we played this about 4 or 5 times.
I've played it several times. Yeah, I must have had at least 4 games of it.
This is Village Attacks from Grimlord Games. This is my type. This really is my type of game. It's got beautiful miniatures, really cool theme. We're basically monsters like Dracula and Frankenstein and those type of things. And we're in our castle, and the villagers are banging on the doors.
They've had enough, haven't they?
Yeah.
Yeah. It's like, right, get the pitchforks.
They're tired of us stealing their wives and whatever, and coming to burn down our thing. I remember telling Adam when I was talking to this, I said this reminded me of a game I used to play religiously on Xbox called Orcs Must Die, which was just like a tower defense style game.
I think there is a board game of that as well, isn't
there? There is, from Peterson Games, but it's apparently not very good. I've not played it. And I said to him, it's reminded me so much of that game, and he actually said the inspiration for this game was that game. And I was like, oh, I can totally see that, and it's just really fun. It's co-op. It's not mechanically the best game. There's, because I feel like there's less options than you might think there is. But in the terms of what you're doing in the game, it's really good. The components are brilliant. The theme is awesome. There's tons and tons of other components that you can add to this, like expansions.
There really are tons.
Yeah, like more monsters, more enemies, and I really like Castle. And you're holding off these villagers and peasants, and then one of the big boys turn up. The heroes, yeah. And then all of a sudden it's like, whoa, we need to stop and do something about this.
The first game of this I played was at Essen 2000 and whatever it was, 17. And what you had, but in essence, it's a tower defense game. You have like the castle heart, and the peasants, they were on this like branch like this. The peasants were turning up and then marching in like this. And what we had to do as the evil people was take peasants, knock them out, and take them down to the kitchen and eat them. We had to do 5. So we had to defend the heart whilst capturing them and taking them to the kitchen. And you have to go through the courtyard, which had sunlight in it as well, so you take damage from that. And it's just, what a hilarious kind of scenario to be doing. It was really funny, and really interesting, cool game to play as well. Yeah, it's dice rolling in it, and they're sort of unique dice with symbols, aren't they? So you activate certain abilities with certain dice.
You can level up your characters.
You can, and all the characters you play are unique, and they've got unique abilities and whatnot. And some are better at like killing, and some are better at kind of controlling and pushing things away and things like that. So you really do have to work together and play to your strengths a bit as well.
And you have different maps, different scenarios, different objectives. Yeah. You can build traps down to things so people go running down the corridor and they get minced by different types of traps.
It's interesting as well, because when we played it, the first 3 scenarios are specifically designed to kind of introduce slowly the rules to you as well. So rather than just bombard you with all the mechanics at the beginning, it's there to kind of, it's a drip feed stuff. And we initially thought, this is a bit light and it's a bit lackluster. And once we'd got past that and then started to play the proper game, once we got out the tutorial, it was really good, so much better. So I would say if anyone's been put off by the tutorial, absolutely persevere with it, because just like the tutorial of a computer game, it's just drip feeding information. That's what that's doing, and it does it very well. But the actual game is so much better than that tutorial would allow you to believe, I think.
Yeah, it's a fantastic game. I mean, Grimlord, I've not played a lot of their games. I mean, I know they did Endure the Stars, which I've not played. And then, of course, they got Everrain, that just finished a Kickstarter now.
It's coming out in a few months, isn't it? I think you said.
But just based on this game alone, whenever they bring out a game or talk about a game, I'm interested. Yeah, and that's based on
their production values are extremely good as well. Their miniatures are good, and just like the card stock and just tokens and artwork and that. I mean, their artwork is really good in their games. So good. I know it's subjective, I get that, but I mean, you can tell that there's some really good artwork in these games.
Well, effectively, they do one game a year, and they put the entire love into that. It's like a labour of love.
Well, it's Adam as well. He's the designer. He just designs the games and puts them out, and the rest of the company just kind of supports what he does.
Yeah, so go check out Village Attacks from Grimlord Games. Really, really fun game. We've done a review for this as well, so if you want to go have a look at that, you're welcome to follow the link in the corner here, and that'll take you there.
Right, so my number 3 I actually don't own yet, but it is coming, and if you just go over there underneath Dice Setters. It's a Dudes on the Map game, which Jason backed by Awakened Realms, and it is this heavy monstrosity called Lords of Helis. And I was surprised at how much I did quite like the old Dudes on a Map type game, and I thought the mechanisms in this were absolutely brilliant. That choosing your sort of action selection style thing, and eventually you run out of places to go, so you have to take the pass action, and the pass action kind of progresses the game along, builds the monuments, something like that. I thought that was so clever. I think the setting behind it is like this kind of weird kind of sort of Greek but steampunk or something like that. So, it's weird cross is unnecessary. It could have easily just have been just straightforward kind of Greek mythology. But aside from that, I think it's brilliant. I think mechanically it's solid. The components are so nice. Those monuments. Yeah. That is one of those games that if you walk past it at a convention, you will stop and go, "What's this?" Because once you see those monuments, they're like multi-piece miniatures that get built slowly over time. And once you see them built, they are striking. They look amazingly good. And I just think the game's tip-top, really good. And I really can't wait to get mine, get more bits, just play the whole shebang. I can't wait to just play more of it.
No, I agree. I mean, I think Lords of Helis, I mean, it's got Greek theme, which I'm already on top of. I mean, one of my favourite games of all time is Mythic Battles, and the Greek theme does it for me. Dudes on a Map. Before I really got into board gaming, Martin used to bring around games to my shop, and we used to play a couple of games. And my idea of board gaming was more based on, like, Risk. Like I didn't really play board games as a kid, and the only game I did play was chess and Risk. And I really liked Risk because of the Dudes on the Map style nature. I just like that conquering the world type nature. This does it, and then takes a level up because you got all the different ways you can win. It's not just conquering the map.
Yeah.
You can hunt monsters. You can build shrines. You can, I think it's eliminate someone. Or is it something? I can't remember.
Control the monuments. Control shrines. Have 2 regions of the map, I believe it is. Yeah. Hunting monsters. Yeah. I think there's about 4 or 5 different objectives that you can do.
And I think that is brilliant because when you play a Dudes on a style map, someone can get really owned.
Yeah. Well, in fact, the video we did, you went on the map at one point. You've been obliterated. Yeah.
And when that happens in a Dudes on a Map style game, generally it's not fun for you because I mean, I know we played a Risk Legacy campaign, and I actually got eliminated twice in the same game and still won that game. So that's an anomaly, but normally you're getting stuff.
Yeah, you ain't coming back from
it. And this game still allows you to stay part of the game because your hero can go around hunting monsters. Yeah. You can still try and
control... You only need to kill 3, I think, 3, to win, which isn't... I mean, the monsters are tough. And what the other thing the monsters do as well, they are a credible threat on the board. So if they are around some of your settlements or whatever, regions that you control... and they activate, they are going to kill a lot of your guys, and that's bad. So you're wanting to kill them, and as like a player that's kind of on the back foot, if you like, you maybe don't want to kill them just yet because they're right there, and they're smushing their regions.
You can almost benefit from it as well. Like they take out one of your regions, I jump in there and claim it, and bring back my armies and stuff like that. It's really good, really clever game. It's got like some really interesting leveling up systems as well. Where not only does your heroes level up, where you get, but you can get these powers that you draft.
Yeah, that's one of the things that I think keeps people engaged throughout the game. When that triggers, because it's to do with temples on the board, isn't it? When that triggers, you get like a power draft. The person that triggered it draws however many +1, I think it is, players, takes one and then passes it on. Everyone gets a power. Everybody likes getting new powers in games.
Exactly, yeah. And you get relics from defeating monsters, which make your heroes more powerful.
Yeah.
I mean,
and the combat mechanism is really good as well. It's all card-based combat, isn't it? And the way that works, and like fighting the monsters works slightly different to fighting troops and things like that, and the abilities on them,
and the different cards you need to fight the monsters as well. It's like, you know, like if you go fight this particular monster, you need lots more swords and shields than.
And what I like about it as well is they stay damaged. So if you go in there on a gamble, think I might just beat him, and don't, you've just beaten him up, allowing someone else to kind of
jump
go in. So you really need to be careful about what you're doing there as well. Yeah, it's great. It ticks a lot of boxes. I think it's really good.
I agree. And I mean, Awakened Realms, talking about that, this is designed by Adam Kapwinski, and obviously published by Awakened Realms. We've played quite a few Awakened Realms games recently. We played their little deck card, 2-player card game.
Oh, yeah. It came with it, didn't it?
Yeah,
Actually,
Siege Storm.
Better than I was expecting as well.
You've played the Suffering game. What was it called?
War of Mine?
Yeah, the War of Mine. Obviously, they got the new Nemesis game that's just come out. So everything
that's very good as well. And in fact, I think Awakened Realms are becoming one to watch. Really.
Yeah.
I've heard people say that pretty much anything that they put on Kickstarter now is going to explode, like Simon's levels of exploding.
Yeah. I mean, look at the Holy Grail. The Tainted Grail. The Tainted Grail. I mean, that made what, like 5 million?
It was a hugely successful one.
So yeah, Awakened Realms, man. And also, just this little shout that they started off as a commission painter service. So,
this is him going, 5 years, isn't it? £5 million Kickstarters.
So yeah, I agree. Yeah, what was that? Was that your number 3?
Number 3.
What was my number 3?
Your number 3
was Village Attacks.
Yes.
So we're on to number 2 now.
Yeah. I'll do mine.
Alright.
As it's here. Right, my number 2 is The Chronicles of Crime. This one was one Jason got a while back, and I've been badgering him to play it. Little did I know that he actually had another copy for me for Christmas. So I finally got to play it, and it, I think it's fair to say, probably exceeded my expectations. My expectations were pretty high as it was. It's exactly my kind of thing. I love deduction games. I love that kind of investigation sort of thing, and I think this really fires on all cylinders here. That VR thing is absolutely brilliant, where you attach your phone to these VR glasses and literally look around the crime scene, and like you're shouting out, I can see, you know, a briefcase on the floor, I can see blood, I can see broken glass, and the rest of the group are kind of whipping out these clues, and then you scan them in, and you're finding information, then questioning people about it, and slowly but surely you're piecing together what's happened in this crime. It's so good and so much fun. I suspect, I've never played Sherlock Holmes Consulting Detective, but I strongly suspect it's completely fired it, because it's so much easier to contain, it's so much easier to expand, because they just update the app with another story. It's exactly the same kind of game, but it's like a modern version of it. The way the cards work, you just kind of, you know, this person was the suspect or the dead body in one, and now he's the police chief, that kind of thing, because the story dictates who is involved, you know, and it's just a bunch of cards with no information on beyond that QR code, and you scan it on your phone and it just tells you who it is. It's so good, and the stories are very different, very gripping, and they kind of weave and turn, and you sort of think the case starts off as this, and then it just took a left turn and went over here, and we had one where we turned up at a shop and there was 2 people to talk to, and we spoke to one person, and we asked that person about the other person in the shop, and that person noticed and ran away, and the next time we saw him, they were dead. So that was it. We lost our opportunity to speak to that guy. So if I ever play that scenario again, obviously talking to him will net me information that I never had, and that's really interesting. That's the only slight downside I will say, is I don't know how replayable each of the cases are. But at the moment, it's certainly not a problem for me. I can't wait to play more of it. And when they unlock those expansions, the Noir one and the other one, Welcome to Red Veil, I think it is, which basically sounds like Scooby-Doo. It really does. You play a bunch of teen-style investigators, and it even says in the rulebook to sort of ham up the role-playing side of it. That sounds hilarious. Noir as well, the kind of 1950s... Maltese folk and pulp detective stuff. That couldn't be more my thing. I can't wait to play that, and I think this is brilliant, and they've done such a good job. And that's Lucky Duck as well. I mean, that is not the kind of game that I sort of saw them bringing out, but
well, I mean, they specialise in making app games into board games. When they've done obviously the not villages, the Viking attacks, which I thought was really good. Viking attacks, and then they've done.
Is that what it's called? Viking attacks? It's Viking something.
Vikings Gone Wild.
Gone Wild. That's it. Yeah.
Vikings Gone Wild.
The jetpacky type one.
Yeah, Jetpack Joyride. Yeah. They did Fruit Ninja, which I, in my head, just couldn't fathom how you could make a board game out of Fruit Ninja.
I would agree with that.
And I played it, and I was like, this is like Fruit Ninja. It's really good. They're really clever. I think they're really innovative. I think Vince and the guys at Lucky Duck, I take my hat off to them. They're super innovative. They come up with games, and I mean, they're probably just looking at apps and then going, how do we make this into a board game? But just doing that is really difficult. And I think they've done a superb job in all the games. I mean, I really enjoyed Vikings Gone Wild, and I have not actually played, even though I've had the game for a while now, I've not actually played any...
I've played it much more than you.
Yeah, I played the half of the intro scenario because we tried to set up a date with our friends to play, and unfortunately, Christmas time, things get a bit chaotic, and we never got around to doing it. We had to cancel a couple of times, so I've not actually played it properly yet. But I can see, just by the little bit that I did play, like, this is going to be amazing.
Well, I mean, that tutorial, that was the first, obviously, I'd ever played of it, and within 5 minutes, it was like, yeah, you've got me. Kind of thing. That it was so gripping. The information you got, we were kind of writing notes down, all collaborating ideas and whatnot, and then you have that first crime scene that you look around, and it was just like, my mind is blown. This is amazing. Yeah. And everyone was like, I want to look as well. It's like, it takes time, but everybody wants to see it because it's so cool. You've never experienced anything like it. You're literally looking around there's the dead body, you know. And what clues can we see around this? It's so interesting.
And what's really, I have not played Sherlock Holmes Detective, but I played the Cthulhu-esque one.
All right, yeah, Mythos Tales, I think.
Yeah, Mythos Tales, and I enjoyed that. It was good, but it was very kind of labour intensive. You know, a lot of paging around, a lot of.
That's the thing. The app takes a lot of that. Exactly. I mean, obviously, you do have to pay attention to what's going on, and you will likely need to make notes because it's quite easy. Because there's a lot of information that comes to you, particularly in the later cases. But that's fairly minor, just like, okay, this person here did this and this person did that sort of thing. And whereas in Sherlock Holmes, because it's all text, you really have to pay a lot more attention. And
I think, I mean, it didn't make my list, but I'm more certain it would have made my list if I ever actually played it more.
Yeah,
you know,
it's really good.
So,
it's another one of those that's really good for kind of light or non-gamers as well, because the gaming part of it isn't actually particularly gamey. There's a lot of deductive reasoning and just kind of clue building and things like that, and just going, okay, I think now we should go here, talk about this guy, now we found out this, and see what they say about this specific item that we found, because it's damning to them and things like that. And it's that kind of logical thinking that you don't need to be a gamer for that. You know?
To interrupt our top 5 here, interesting sort of question. Is like, for example, we've been my family and I have been playing Time Stories, and we've been playing obviously through the cases. But like this, Time Stories is a one-off play.
Yeah,
you know, you play it 3 or 4 times or whatever to get the case done, and then it's done. You never go back to it again. Would that be considered a new game to play? Like, for example, we played Endurance last year. Can that be considered as a new game to me that year? Or is it still under the Time Stories bubble?
Well, I think you could look at it both ways. You're playing Time Stories, but I think if you consider it Time Stories : this story, it's like you're in the Time Stories universe, if you like, but you're playing a different case, if you like. So, I mean, some of them in Time Stories are very different as well to each other. Like the Dragons one is extremely different to a lot of the others and things like that, isn't it? So, I don't see why you couldn't consider that playing a different game. Arguably, there is no Time Stories itself, because there's no game there, really. It's the things that you plug into it that you play.
Exactly, and one of the reasons I brought this up, because I read somewhere the other day, I think it was on Board Game Geek, that someone was saying that Time Stories is actually our overall story. And that when you completed all the cases up to now, which I don't know how many it is, I think it's like 7 or 8 cases or something. The last case that they just brought out is the last case for that overall story.
Wow.
I didn't even know that. Apparently you can go onto the website and read more about the overall story as opposed to the individual stories. And that the stories that they're bringing out this year, supposedly they're bringing out 3...
A new campaign, if you like, yeah.
And I was like, wow, I did not know that.
Well, that's cool. However, if they've never made that public, then people that own it are likely to have played the game with different people. They may have missed ones that didn't appeal to them. May have played them out of order.
Yeah.
And all these things. So I think if that was their intention, they perhaps should have gone, this is a campaign game, you know, you don't need to play the others, but at the end you'll get a revelation which will tie everything together and will make for a better game overall.
And it's just playing it out of the box. You won't tell that it's a campaign game.
No, there was nothing there.
I mean, you read some little blurb at the beginning, but it almost feels like it's the same blurb every
There's
time.
very little to tie each other to them anyway, as I recall. I think there's the odd mention of a character here or there, or a thing that's happened in like a later case. But it's almost like a cameo, if you like, a nod to something. There's nothing to suggest that it's a whole linked campaign.
Anyway, I just thought, because one of the things where I was thinking about that is because Chronicles of Crime could make my top 5 for 2019. Because technically I haven't really played it. I've only played like a half a intro tutorial, you know, like a demo.
I would suggest you've not played it yet.
Yeah, and I'm itching at the bum to play it.
Let me put it like this, right? I played it whenever it was. We played the tutorial with you know, our group, and you know most of them anyway. After we finished that, they immediately wanted to do another case, which we did, and then a few days later we got together again, and it came up again as, should we do another one of those? And so we ended up playing it again with, broadly speaking, I think there was one different person in there, so a group of 4 of us. So quick succession to do that. It was just that I want more of it. It's fascinating. There's just so many cool things going on in it.
That's definitely a winner for Lucky Duck. I mean, I think
hell yeah,
they're gonna be inundated with requests for next year or this year, going make more cases.
The only thing I don't know how I feel about is, so you have the app, okay, and on the app you choose which case you want to do, and you don't need any more components because the cards can represent basically whatever they want it to. Like that, as I say, you've got like, say, 30 character cards, and one time a character might be the police chief, and one it might be the body, and one it might be the suspect, and one it might even come up at all. So they don't need more components. What the new stuff is the app. Now, obviously, unless they're extremely altruistic, they're going to charge for that. Now, I don't know how I feel about spending a lot of money on new cases without getting any physical content. Do you know what I mean? Because
I suppose it depends on how much it is. If it's like £1 or something.
Yeah, I mean, if it's certainly sub £5, I probably won't mind too much. But when you're getting to sort of £10 or more, unless they're kind of a series of interlinked games, if it's one case, I don't want to be spending £10 on one case, even though, you know, I love the game, it's amazingly good, but it's that perceived value. Whereas if they brought out a box with new stuff in, then I could see where my money's going. It's a real... It's
on the box.
Well, yeah, as well as that stuff in, of course. But yeah, you know what I mean? It's, I don't know how I feel, and I think that price point is going to really dictate.
It's effectively buying DLC for an Xbox game.
Yeah, but it's... Obviously, you're buying it for a board game. And the other thing that slightly concerns me, and I thought about this recently, is what happens when that app's no longer supported.
Does the game disappear?
Just burn it in a fire. That's it, done.
I'm pretty sure they'll keep it going. Or, the most likely, in about 5 years' time, there'll be a Chronicles of Crime 2 with a new app.
Maybe, but again, I don't think you need new components. What do they do?
I don't know. I mean, I've heard that they've got ideas coming forward. Like, someone said that they... because they've got other designers coming forward with stories for the game.
But it's going to work like Time Stories, isn't it? Where you can easily... I mean, so far they brought out 2 box sets, which is the 2 that I mentioned, Noir and Red Veil. Red Veil's set in the 80s, so they've brought out new cards and things which have lots of 80s kind of pastiche type stuff. And then the Noir one is 50s, or possibly a bit earlier, but it's around that kind of period. And so you have like Sam Spade style detectives and trench coats and fedora hats, and you know, that sort of thing. So if that's where they're going with expansions, where like they'll bring out say, I mean, I'd love to see a fantasy version of it where you're actually solving a crime in a fantasy world. How awesome would that be? And
I want to see a Fallout one, Vince.
Yeah, anything. Different if the boxes are new settings, then that's gonna keep it fresh and be really interesting. Yeah, I mean, whatever you bring out, man, I'm gonna be probably buying. Let's be fair. The only issue now is the box is full. Anything else now ain't going to fit in the box.
No, yeah, you're right. Right, let's go on to my number 2. My number 2 is from a company that kind of no longer exists.
Well, they've merged, haven't they?
Yeah. It's from NSKN and it's Dice Settlers. This is designed by David Turczi, who's... Turczi?
Something like that.
He's been obviously cranking out some games recently, and this game I really enjoy a lot. And because it hits a lot of my wheelhouse stuff, I like dice bag building, or bag building in general. I mean, I think one of the most underrated games in the world is Hyperborea, which is a fantastic bag building game.
Not at 6 though.
Huh?
Not at 6.
No, yeah. Well, it's
four player maybe. 6 player, not so much.
And I love engine building stuff, and this is right in my wheelhouse. It's got exploration, where you building out a map. It's got technology, and the technology is crazy. There's like a stack of cards, so every game you play could have a completely different combination of cards that will give you completely different abilities during the game. And then you have a bunch of chunky dice with all different types of things on. So you got resources, you got ways of exploring, you got ways of getting technology, you got ways of fighting other people if you really wanted to, and it's just really cool.
Buying new dice as well.
Exactly, yeah. And you can get new... The bag building part, I got to admit, is a lower down on the.
Well, I don't think it's its central, even though it kind of gives you the idea that it is its central focus point.
Yeah,
I don't think it is.
Yeah, because I mean, you got roughly, I think you start with like 6 or 8 dice. I think it's 6 dice, 4 white ones and 2 colours.
I think it's 3 white ones. I think 5 then.
But you basically start off with these dice, and then depending on what things you upgrade, you can get more dice to pull out of the bag. But effectively, in every game I've played, you almost always use all the dice.
Yes.
So
well,
it's very...
you can do, certainly.
Yeah.
Maybe not early on, but as time goes on, you will.
And then you just dump all the dice back into the bag, and you go again for the next round. But what's really interesting about the game is that even though you can pull out 8, 10 dice into your bag and roll them all there on the table, spend resources to bring out more dice, you can still only do 2 actions. And how the strength of those actions determines on how many of the dice you roll on the same time. So, for example, if you want to generate resources, you would want to roll as many dice you can.
It's far more efficient to do actions when you have a lot of the same value essentially come up, rather than just one. But sometimes that's not the thing you want to do.
No, exactly, yeah. And I don't know, it just gels with me. It's really interesting. Even the comically large tents make it amusing.
Well, I'm looking forward to getting those replaced, I must confess. But yeah, I mean, they're ridiculous at the moment, aren't they? I don't know how they managed to balls that up.
That's so funny.
Hopefully NSK have been given a bit of direction with their merger, and they'll be like, oh, check the components before you send them out.
So funny.
They're ridiculous.
It's like you got a tile on this side of the tent that covers the whole thing. So what does that tile do? I don't know, because
for the record, I've got the deluxe components, so they replace like the wooden cubes with actual plastic kind of tents and things like that. But 2 of the colours, they really balls up the sizing of them. And there's a nice cavity as well for the hexes, but they didn't measure that after they put the kind of the coloration on the backs and fronts of the tiles, so they all fit when they were just the card, and then once they got the images on them, they no longer fit in the cavity anymore. It's like, for goodness sake. Like, these are amateur mistakes that they've made here, but other than that, I mean, they did a great job. They really did.
Yeah, we'll have a review of this soon as well. But I mean, it's a fantastic game. I really enjoy it. They've got an expansion coming out that's later this year.
News to me.
Really?
Yeah.
Yeah. David's been showing it off, not showing it off, but saying, look, watch out for the expansion coming out. I think if I had to pull out an excuse, maybe it goes too quick, the game. Like, just when you're getting straight into it, it's almost feels like someone's going to finish off the game.
Yeah, it's possible, yeah. But I don't think I think that's a good problem to have.
No,
I'd rather have it that way than drags on too long.
Exactly, yeah.
And, I mean, gaming machines, I mean, both David and the Micho, the guy with the artwork, those guys, man, literally, they're just machines, just cranking out just game stuff now. I mean, the Micho's done so many games, artwork for games now. It's just ridiculous.
Yeah, no, I agree. But I mean, I'm super looking forward to playing it again. I just really like it. It's got a very civilization, light building game. Set like in the old, what do you call it, the New World settled.
Yes, Frontier.
Frontier, yeah. Sort of the theme wise, I mean, it's not. It's maybe there. I don't know, but I still enjoy the game.
It's very abstract.
Yeah, engine building is my wheelhouse, and this game is great. I really enjoy it a lot. It's got just the right amount of interaction as well, with the ability to, you're doing really well, I'm going to kick you out there now. It's also got a lot of interaction with when you're exploring. You're thinking about where you're going to explore to, because you know, Martin's doing really well. If I explore there, he's going to do even better, so I might go somewhere else. And you try and build out on your own way, and people are following you. It's really cool. Really enjoy it a lot. Dice Settlers, from what used to be NSK in Games, now is...
I remember who they merged with.
Yeah, it's another Polish company, which I can't think of what it's called now.
But it was on my shortlist as well.
I'll put it in there.
It would have made my top 10, certainly.
That's my number 2.
Okay, right, so my number 1. It was absolutely no doubt in my mind whatsoever when I did this list that this would be it. Because if you've watched any other videos that we've done, I've always said I've got an RPG background. I've always liked the kind of character progression, the story, that kind of dungeon delving type stuff. I've always been drawn to those kind of games. And this one has really, for me, knocked it out of the park completely. I think it's brilliant. We're playing a campaign. I've done 2 or 3 part campaigns now. But playing a campaign at the moment, it's going so well. Everyone's enjoying it. It's one of those that people like contact us and go, when can we do the next session? That kind of thing. It's so good. It's a cooperative one, so rather than have like a DM role, they've got an AI in there, and the way the AI works is actually really clever. Each what gets activated is kind of randomized, so you're never really sure what's going to happen, and they've got this kind of behavioural system on there. So creatures, depending on how far away they are and what they can see, they'll act in different ways, and also who they target as well. So like little gremlins, they go after the richest and things like that, and maybe another one might go after the strongest and things like that.
That's pretty cool.
Really interesting the way that works. And depending on how far away they are from certain things, they'll do certain things. So some might do like summon a new demon and then activate all demons, or if they're close, they might hit you and move back and things like that. And so they've got this behavioural thing, and it makes such a big difference. It takes a lot of that kind of pain out of the way I mean, a lot of AI things just like they'll hit the closest or things like that. None of that at all. You're never completely safe of, well, I'll run in there and I'll be the closest and then they'll hit me because I'm the tank. That's not a guarantee anymore. You can't rely on that. And that's one of the things that makes it really interesting. The story is really cool in it as well. You kind of wake up, it's a bit Dark Souls-ish almost. You wake up dead and you're slowly piecing together what's happened. You've been like these heroes that have been brought back and you're fighting back. It's really tough as well, which is cool.
I love
I mean, one of the games that we played, we came so close to losing. In fact, at one point, I almost said, should we just assume we've lost this and restart, right? Because there's a restart kind of mechanism in there to like redo the quest if you fail it. It was like, no, let's persevere, we'll carry on. And in the end, it kind of literally came down to us sprinting down a corridor to the exit kind of thing. Killed the thing that we needed to do, just legging it, because we were getting trounced, and we literally, by the skin of our teeth, managed to win that scenario. I still don't know how we did it exactly, but it was so good and really tense and interesting, and everyone that is playing it with me is loving it, and I'm one of them. I think it's brilliant, and for that reason, it had to be my number 1. I can't wait to play more of it, to get more stuff, and the new Kickstarter that comes out presumably later on this year. I think it's like November, December time. Good, give me more of it. I think it's amazing. So
who's the designer? Does it say?
I don't know who the designer is, to be honest.
I know it's made by Ares Games.
I would know his name. I can't remember what his name is now, but I would know it if I saw it, because I think there's 2 of them, if I remember rightly.
Ironically, this is one of my biggest regrets. I remember seeing this on Kickstarter when it came out, and I was this close to backing it. But then I had this in the back of my head, because Ares Games, I'm pretty sure, is a Greek or an Italian company.
I think they're Italian. Well, yeah, they're Italian.
Yeah. And what was nagging at the back of my head was the last time I backed a game from of a miniature ilk from an Italian or Greek company, I can't remember now, was Project Elite from Utopia Games. Yep. And I mean, the Kickstarter page looked great, and it had loads of miniatures, the gameplay looked interesting, and it was a complete freaking disaster. You know,
the hair-dried miniatures.
Yeah, it was, the candle wax miniatures was freaking awful. The gameplay was fine. I mean, the gameplay itself, even with the durable miniatures, were good. And it's just, the campaign was a nightmare. It just went downhill very quickly.
Well, I think the guy running it as well didn't have a particularly fun time.
Yeah,
with the whole
I
thing.
mean, I remember him saying that now that this is done with, he's never going to do another miniature game again, and hence reason why Simon ended up getting to purchase it from them.
Yeah, yeah.
But that was in the back of my head, you know. I was thinking, I've never heard of Ares Games making a miniature game before.
Right.
Are the
Apart
miniatures...
from War of the Ring, which has got a shit out of miniatures.
Yeah, but they're board game miniatures.
Yeah,
you know.
true. I mean, they're not amazing miniatures, yeah. But...
And I just there was in the back of my head, it was just like, no, I can't take the. It was quite a lot of money. I mean, I think it was over 100 quid, and I was just like, no, I can't take the risk of it being. Well, exactly.
Fill that box.
Exactly. There's a massive pile of stuff, and then when it arrived, and not only have people said, you know, the game is brilliant, like yourself, because I've not played it, but the miniatures are all fine as well.
I think they're actually really good, and what they've done as well. So you've got green, blue, and red miniatures. Green is like the low level ones. Blue is like a medium, and red is like the master. And they've each got slightly different molds on them as well. So they're broadly the same, even between the two. So you get two like green ones, and one might be holding a different weapon in his hand or something like that. And they've done that with every single monster type in there as well. So they're all slightly different, which is, I mean, how have they done this as well? And they're all really good, detailed miniatures.
So yeah, I'm gutted that I didn't back it, but at the same time, you've got it now.
The designers, by the way, Nunzio Sarace maybe, and Simone Romano.
All right.
There you go. I knew it was Simone.
So yeah, I'm glad it's done well. And also, what's interesting is that this was the second game to come out last year or the year before, whenever it came out, where a Dungeon Bash game with ghosts, where heroes become ghosts.
Yes, right, yeah.
Which I thought was really interesting. I've never seen a Dungeon Bash style game where the heroes become ghosts after they can see their ass. And then you got two. The other one was obviously Folklore the Affliction,
which was also on my last year's list.
And we actually played it this year out of randomness.
It was hilarious.
It was hilarious. We played it on New Year's and we got a complete party wipe. Absolutely moided.
Yeah, it wasn't funny.
Yeah, okay, my number one has already been mentioned, so it's not a massive surprise, but it's Lord of the Realm and Lord of Helis. Lords of Helis, oh my god.
By Waker Realm.
Yeah.
Good job, we've already mentioned it.
I really enjoyed this a lot. As I was saying when Martin mentioned it, that Dudes on the Map style game is really, really my wheelhouse as well. I mean, I've got Kemet, I've got Cyclades, I've got the one that WizKids did, or whatever it was,
the
Conquest of the Wrath.
Yeah.
I really enjoy those type of games. I played effectively 3 campaigns of the Risk Legacy. I mean, I enjoyed it a lot, but that's a lot of.
I
know, yeah. And I don't. Now that I've played all these cool versions of Dudes on the Map, Risk is my least favorite, but Risk Legacy was brilliant.
Yeah.
And I just really enjoy those type of games, amongst all the other games. Mori Nostrum's another one. I really enjoyed that. But this game just took it to another level. I really enjoyed it. The Greek theme is obviously, like Martin was saying, this could have been just generic Greek theme. It didn't have to be.
I kind of wish it was, to be honest. I don't think it needed that kind of robo-Greek thing.
Well, yeah. But... I mean, they say that in the story or whatever you want to call it, they say that the Greek, as we know it, the Greek theme and mythology, is just a story that they tell in their universe.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Which is interesting, but I mean. It's not here or there. It's just a theme. But what's really cool is like you got these giant monument miniatures that you build up as you worship to the gods, and they, depending on the god you worship, gives you more powers. For example, if you go for Zeus, you're getting more combat abilities. If you go for Ares, you're moving around the map faster.
But it's also an end game trigger. So if you keep building the same monument, the game's getting quicker and quicker to the end.
And someone who controls it, and it doesn't have to be you who built the whole bloody thing. Someone else who controls it wins the game. And it's just, oh my god, it's so good. And then you've got obviously all the mythological creatures that you can hunt that are really badass. I mean, you don't go after them straight away because you will get beaten the crap out of. Yeah. You've got quests that you can go do. There's a random quest on the map and you can just go hunt down these quests.
I think that would be probably my only real negative on it. The quests feel a little bit underwhelming.
Yeah, they're a little flat. No,
yeah, it's literally go there and you tick down slowly but surely, and then you've done it.
Yeah.
That's it.
Yeah, I agree. But I mean, there's that option that you can do.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I mean, it's nice that they've got them there, and it's a way to get power and whatnot for your heroes. But yes, it's not as thematic as the rest of it. I think it doesn't gel as well.
And then the way you choose your actions for the turn is really interesting as well, because you've got this little player board at the bottom with a couple of basic actions that you can do, and then your 6 or 7 special actions. But you can only do that special action once until you reset your player board. But when you reset the player board, it resets for everyone, sort of thing. And it's really clever. It's a lot of good, cool shit going on. Components are brilliant. Theme's great. The gameplay is really interesting with all the different variations of winning. It's a top game. And they got a crap ton of stuff coming for this out. You know, my one regret, I didn't buy the terrain expansion. And
Fool.
yeah, and I'm now like weeping in my pillow every night because
I think when I get mine, I think I'm going to even have Sundrop as well on mine. Have you seen the Sundrop?
I have.
I think they look great.
I don't want the Sundrop. I'm a painter, so I'll probably end up painting my stuff.
No, he won't.
In 20 years' time.
He's got literally 10 years worth of paint for other people before he can even look at his own. So there's no way that's going to happen. So,
but I mean, it's a fantastic game. I really enjoyed it a lot.
Yeah. Fifth player as well. It adds, doesn't it? There's a purple faction that you can add on,
and more another side part of the map. You got Troy. You got Underworld expansion coming. Oh man, that's brilliant! So good. I really enjoyed it.
I liked it too.
And I'm really definitely looking forward to playing Sword and Sorcery as well.
Well, hopefully you're looking forward to playing all the games that you've not played on my list.
Well, it's true. Pixie Green is another one.
I mean, I've played all but Tales of Glory, and Tales of Glory, it sounds really good.
Yeah.
And I'd like to have that go. So.
And this is why we say it was a really good year for gaming. But we do have a couple of duds.
Yeah. Again, the caveat being dud/disappointment, and this year I'm not 100% certain which word I'd use. I've got a kind of an honourable mention of a dud this time.
I want to do mine first quickly.
All right, yeah.
Because I've got actually, now that you mention it, I've got two that cover both those things.
Ooh, okay.
One was a massive disappointment. Mechanically it worked, and the pedigree of the designer and the company, you expect good things from. But when I played the game, I thought it was so boring, so disappointing, that I immediately after doing the review got rid of it, and I will never ever play it again because it's so dull. The other one is just a bad game. It's not because it's, disappointing, it's just rubbish and should not be ever on anyone's gaming table. Right? The shit game is Badass Riders. I can't remember who the company was. I'll put up a picture here, you can have a look at it.
That was Molo's game.
Yes,
yeah, that
it's just a horrible game.
It was awful.
I mean, we only played it that one time, and when I put up a post of it, some people were saying there's other ways you can play it, but ultimately you're doing the same thing, which is nothing. Right? You on your turn, you play some cards in your hand. There's no reason not to play them because you're going to draw up as many. Yeah, and it's just I'll do this, I'll shoot you. I'll do this, I'll roll this dice and see what happens.
You move forward a space a turn unless you play cards which do something different, that basically speed you up or whatever. So you can't not move as well.
Yeah.
So you're just going forward, and do I play my cards before or after I move? That's basically the decision.
Yeah.
That's it.
There's no choice in the game whatsoever. You just literally move your card on your card on this card track that you just randomly lay out for a
I think there's tracks in the manual that you can kind of go, oh, we'll do this one.
And then on your turn, you go, I'll shoot you, I'll shoot you, I'll shoot you.
It was terrible.
Yeah,
I mean, there's no doubt about it. It was really bad.
The problem I have with the games is that when you have no choice whatsoever, because your card automatically moves forward, and there's no reason not to play the cards in your hand because you'll draw up to as many as you can anyway, and the cards are so generic that it's not like, oh, I'll hold on to this card for when the opportunity arrives. It's just play it because you're going to draw another one anyway.
Yeah.
So it's just...
And then what was more of it, there's a stack of cards like this, and I drew one which was if you have the so-and-so thing, like I think I had the detonator, and if you had the bomb, you could do this thing. It's like, well, there's a stack of about 150, 200 cards here. If I have this one copy of the card that's in this deck, and it turned out it was about 60 cards down. Like, so this is a dead card in my hand. Brilliant. Thanks very much. Yeah. Oh god, it was awful.
And it was awful. It's just and it takes ages as well because I'll shoot you, you crash, you burn, that misses your next turn. Oh, and I'll skip your turn. I hate that mechanic. I'll just play this card and skip your turn. Fuck you, I don't like you.
This game is one of those that illustrates the problem with Kickstarter, and that is that there is no, usually anyway, no big publisher behind it to basically go through as a game developer and go, strip that shit out, make this better, anything like that. An individual could just go, this game's amazing, I love it, and all of my family think it's amazing too. So I'm bringing it to Kickstarter, and they dupe people into backing it. That is the fun, because there's no quality control in Kickstarter.
I was for like 20 quid and 20 quid postage or something. So you paid 40 quid.
I mean, it's a heavy old box, to be fair, but it's all cards, isn't it? Yeah. Bless him.
Yeah,
Yeah, that's terrible.
That was my one dud. It was so bad. I really did not like it. But my disappointing one was Alien Artifacts from Portal Games.
Oh, interesting.
I'm really sorry, but this game is boring. It's so boring. Mechanically, it's sound. It works. It's got a really clever mechanic where everything you do in the game is based off this one deck of cards that has the different type of resources on. So if you want to do attacking, you play the attack card. And if you want to do research, you play the research version of it. And depending on the numbers on the cards is how good the card. But there's no artwork in the game to speak of, really. You got the silhouetted art on the side of the cards, so it's just all these blank white cards with symbols on. It's supposed to be a 4x game or 3.5x game.
That plays in less than an hour.
Yeah, but it's 4-player. I mean, I played the first time I played it. It was 2-player. Me and Dee played it, and I thought it's all right. It's not bad. You know, it goes pretty quick, and it's got this clever mechanic where everything works off this one deck of cards. And no matter what you want to do, if you want to research, you need those cards. If you want to fight, you need those cards. If you want to explore planets, you need those cards. But then I quickly realized when we played a 4-player game, where the game obviously takes twice as long or 3 times as long, that when everyone at the table is going, oh please, for the love of God, can we just cycle through this deck so this game can end? That there's something wrong with this, because it's too long, too boring, there's nothing going on. It is the most disappointing game that I've played all year. Purely maybe because, I mean, Ignacy is a really good designer, and he's got some fantastic games. I mean,
And Portal were, they're a good company as well,
and
aren't
they do really good. I mean, like Dice Settlers, 51st State, and Alien Artifacts are all games.
Imperial Settlers, you mean?
I mean, no, not Imperial. Imperial Settlers. What did I say? Dice Settlers.
He was bloody obsessed with it.
They do that mechanic where it's multi-use cards, and they're all built off, and they do it really well. I mean, both Imperial Settlers and 51st State are really good games.
Well, they're broadly based on each other, aren't they?
Exactly, yeah. And there's lots of options, lots of choice, and the artwork brings it a little bit together. Whereas I think with Alien Artifacts, it's bland, so bland. And on your turn, you just go, done. And then you sit there looking at nothing. There's nothing to look at. All the artwork are basically the same. All the ships look the same. All planets look the same. They're just different colours. You know, everything you're looking at is just symbols.
So it's funny, because I only played it once, and I don't remember it very well, and I think that's probably telling enough.
Yeah.
There was nothing memorable in there at all. It's just a meh. And how many people do you see playing it now as well? And you never hear it mentioned ever.
The game is named after these deck of cards called Alien Artifacts, which you find and they give you these. They're just dull. They're just.
It's funny. Chewie had it on a shelf, and someone said, "Oh, I should sell that. It's shit." Basically, and it was like a dog pile. Everyone coming and going, "Yep, get rid of it. It's dreadful." Yeah. And now he needs to find someone that hasn't read that post or seen this video.
Yeah, I just didn't. I mean, I know some people out there like. I think Tom Vassell from Dice Tower. I think he likes it, but I don't get it. It's just there's nothing there. It's 2 hours of dullness, and I was really disappointed by it. Really disappointed.
Well, I can't add much to it because I've forgotten it completely. I've wiped it from my memory, but I mean, obviously, I wasn't blown away by it. Right, so as I was saying, I've got an honourable mention now, and it's an honourable mention because I'm prepared to give it another day in court because it's exactly the kind of thing that I'd want to play. The theme is 100% down. It's based on a movie or a book, really, but. I love the movie absolutely, and it's exactly the kind of game that I like. But this one was a complete miss for me. But I've only played it once, so it could have been an anomaly of that game because people that have played it more said it was amazing or that sort of thing. And that disappointment for me, my honourable mention, was The Thing: Infection at Outpost 31.
Oh, I'm not playing that.
And I love The Thing, and it's basically like a Battlestar Galactica style game where you have some of them are infected and you have to basically escape out on the helicopter. And at the end of the game, the captain chooses who's going on the helicopter, and if they choose any infected, that's it. The humans have lost and the infected's won, which sounds cool. My issue came with it was it wasn't really a deduction game where there was nothing giving you an idea of who was infected. So it goes through 3 rounds, and I can't remember exactly how it worked, but if I recall, on the 3rd round, a new person became infected. but you pretty much immediately have to jump in the helicopter. So there is no way that you could ascertain who was the infected and who wasn't. You have no information to do that. And that really soured the game for me. It was okay up to that point. It wasn't Battlestar Galactica for me. I think Battlestar Galactica
Who
definitely...
has this?
Rob Taylor had it and he brought it to Handicap.
Oh,
so
right.
I don't know. I think it's a USA game again, isn't it? One that was brought over there. But I think Battlestar does everything it did better anyway. But I would give it another play.
What about that? Is it called Dark Moon from Stronghold?
Yeah, yeah.
Because that's a similar theme, isn't it?
Yes, although I'd say the theme in Dark Moon's very light because you've got very little kind of flavour text and stuff coming into things in that, so it's literally just looking at that kind of console, isn't it, and just rolling dice. They're all, I mean, as I say, they're all fine, but it was disappointing to me because
How about Outpost Siberia?
Yeah, no. I want to give it another play because I hope that it was an anomaly, that game, and that it is actually much better than I fear it is. But I mean, I love the thing. It's probably my top favourite horror film ever, which is why I really wanted to play the
Clam Stories Endurance.
Yeah, the Endurance story in that, because it's that sort of setting. But yeah, it just missed for me. But it was an honourable mention because my actual one was even more disappointing, and I think probably a dud as well. And it was the Discover Lands Unknown.
Ooh. Oh yeah.
Oh man, that was a gut punch for me because just like Keyforge, which made my number 5, it's got that unique element. Everyone's game's unique. You've got the different cars and everything, and it's got exploration in there, and that kind of seventh continent, like landed on a unknown place and discovering, going out sort of thing. But it was just, there was nothing there at all. It couldn't decide if it was co-op or competitive, it seemed. The way the story kind of hung together was, there was some really cool bits, like when you found the rope and it's like, oh, you can add 2 to that and then get the, like by getting it off the hayloft or whatever. That was really interesting, but there wasn't enough of that, and it was more just like run, get attacked by random animal, get nothing that you need, run back to bonfire, oh, I'm slowly dying, I don't have this thing, I've got it, I'll trade it for you. Why? I don't know. You know, there's no reason for me to trade this with you at all beyond the fact that I don't want you sitting there being dead while we play this game. And so there was nothing there. And yeah, you could buy another box and it'll be different and different landscapes and whatnot. But why would you?
It's interesting. I mean, that didn't make my dud of the year because I thought Alien Artifacts was even more disappointing.
It must be in the top 5.
But yeah, I mean, I think the one problem I had with Discover was I was, oh my god, this is going to be awesome. And
which is why it was a disappointment for me.
And then it came, when it hit me, it was like, oh, this is so disappointing. But there was some cool stuff in there, like the way the health, where your life works.
That was interesting, yeah. But they didn't use it enough.
No,
that's the thing.
And I think the problem with it, the uniqueness, you know, that the whole every game is hurting it more than it's benefiting it, because they have to make it so generic and so basic. Then,
and I would also say that in Keyforge, when you get a deck and it's unique, that's cool because you play against someone else that has another deck and you don't know what to expect from them. But when I'm playing a contained game and it's unique, why do I care if it's different or the same as somebody in America or, you know, in Australia or something? It makes no difference to me. Why do the unique? They could have done, you've got 4 different types. There's like a, you know, Badlands and Tundra one, and there's a this and this. So you might actually go out and hunt for the different ones and actually put a bit more meat on the bones of those. But instead they've gone for that uniqueness thing, which is irrelevant to the whole equation.
What makes it even more irrelevant is that they can't even be combined together. Because I've got 2 copies here. Yeah. And there's 4 different lands.
Because he's a masochist.
And there's 4 different types of lands that I got. And you can't even add, like, oh, you know, I'll add these cards to this to make the exploration deck different or whatever. You can't combine anything. So it's totally pointless, you know, hunting out the other stuff. Because the gameplay experience is the same.
It's also fairly misleading as well. So there's 5 scenarios in a box. 2 are on one landscape, 2 on another, and the 5th one is basically a free for all, attacking each other.
Think Hunger Games.
Really. Yeah, that's it. It's not. There's not 5 scenarios in there at all, and it's like those 2 from this terrain could be moved from from box to box to box. Essentially, is how they've done it. And yeah.
the scenarios aren't replayable. Well, in my experience, the ones that I've played are not replayable because
they've got the story elements in there.
No, because there's no story element. But like for example, and I can't see how it could be spoiling it unless you buy my copy, because I'm the only one with this particular game apparently. But like for example, there's one where you're playing on the Badlands and you've got all these mountainous areas and stuff, and you need to find this one particular point to complete the story, right? Well, that point is only on 2 tiles, which is the number 4 tiles, and they always start in the exact same position. So you know exactly where to go. So if I play it again, I'll just go, I'm there, I'm done it. And it's just like, yes, there might be some little bit odds and changes that goes along there, but I know exactly what's happening. I know exactly, like, if I go to that barn, I know I can't find the goods there unless I have the rope.
So, which you get from the well.
Yeah, exactly. Which I know when I find it. So the replayability is non-existent in the scenarios. The 5th scenario is supposed to be the...
I think one of the issues was they use all the tiles in all the games. Yeah. If they'd have cut
and
it
they're
down
not random
to,
as well. They have to set up
if
the
they'd
same
have cut
way.
it down to you use half the tiles that are available, and so some things aren't appearing. At least then you've got that replayability there, because you might not find the well. So when you go to the bar and the well's not in it, you're like, well, I'm hunting here and I can't find something. What's going on here? And then eventually you play one with the well and find that missing piece. And
it's crazy. You know what's really ironic is that a game that was panned heavily, which I didn't think was that bad, was 504, right? Because of the dryness and because there was not enough theme. This is worse than that by far. I mean, in 504 you have.
You've at least got 404 different games to play.
And even the same game that you could play the exploration, say for example, game, this exploration combat again, it'll be different every time because the tiles are randomly set up. And whereas these ones will always come up the same way. There might be like the ones that go down 3 levels like this. They might be slightly different. Yeah, but they will always be in those positions. Yeah. So you will always know that at least one of these 3 I'm going to find berries in. Or at least one of these 3 I'm going to find a
it was just a big miss for me. It really was. A great idea, but yeah, I mean, Fantasy Flight really dropped the ball for me on that one hugely.
I don't even know what they were thinking. I mean, yeah, Keyforge was a brilliant idea. The uniqueness really triggered in people's minds there because of the easier accessibility of the game, whereas this does nothing for it. Nothing at all. I mean, you can't even go hunt out a collection and go, I've got all the types of terrains and stuff. So hard. You can't combine them.
Why would you?
Yeah.
I don't get why you would. I mean, and again, it's one of those, do you hear people playing it now? I mean, it's not even been out that long, but you see nobody, no pictures of it on Facebook or nobody talking about playing it and that sort of thing. Yeah, I feel it's been a big miss for them all round.
And, I mean, knowing Fantasy Flight, they probably had an idea of what they were going to come Gen Con. They'll have new Keyforge expansion and a new Discovery expansion.
I think it's about time they brought out a bloody new Civilization expansion. I mean, that's.
Oh, you talk about the New Dawn one.
New Dawn, yeah. I mean, that's been out long enough now for them to have done that, and maybe a TI4 one.
Yeah.
Maybe it's been 2 years by Gen Con.
But I can see why you put that on your list because it was pretty disappointing.
It really was. Yeah. That one I want to play again.
Yeah.
So those 2 boxes, you might as well just get rid of.
Well, we get a bonfire night going.
Coming up soon.
Alright, so that is our top 5 of the year. Also, our dad mentions. Anything else you want to mention about the year of gaming?
No, I mean, we mentioned it all at the beginning, really. Lots of good stuff coming up as well. Although, that being said, I don't know much about kind of retail release side of things, other than imminent ones. Like Kratz of Quedlinburg. I really want to play it. Sounds cool. Obviously some Kickstarters. Tainted Grail does sound bloody good, and I'm really looking forward to the new Sword and Sorcery later on in the year, obviously. And then I've got a couple coming from TMG, Crusaders I Will Be Done, which might be at my house when I get home. And the post-apocalyptic one, which I can't remember what it's called. Downfall, yeah, that's really good as well, so I'm looking forward to those. But beyond that, who knows what the new year will bring. More.
What's the problem is, like, I mean, how many games were released last year? I mean, there was 300 just at Gen Con alone.
Well, I mean, Essen, you get thousands.
Yeah, and it was just like, I mean, you can't keep up with that pace, and no one is expecting anyone to do that. But
we try anyway.
Yeah, and it's crazy. I mean, I know for already just from one of my favorite companies, which is Monolith. They got 2 games coming out next year, 2 Kickstarters. One is Batman 2, which is like
Batman 1.
Yeah, I haven't even got my Batman 1 yet.
I mean, that's a bit of a kick to the teeth, isn't it? Of people that backed, like, went all in on that first one. Like, well, here's a second one that fixes all the problems that we found in the first one. Like, I haven't even got it yet.
I don't know if it's going to do that, but it's a completely new story, new characters.
It probably will.
But then, of course, end of the year, it's Mythic Battles Ragnarok. I was like, oh my god, there's another £400 Kickstarter. So, and
let's pull your finger out, Jason. Clear some of these shelves.
So yeah, and those are just 2 games out of what, like 1,000 that'll be released next year.
Yeah, I mean, Kickstarter has just gone nuts now, really, hasn't it? There's so many games coming to Kickstarter, and they're getting more and more expensive as well. Like, I mean, regularly now, like 100, 150 buy-in, you know, like base pledge level before you put add-ons and things like that. It's just like, oh, this isn't sustainable anymore. You know, it's getting really bad. But
what, room-wise as well?
yeah, I think it's fair to say you reached saturation point 3 years ago.
I need to get a shed out there just so I can store some stuff.
You need to move the kids out.
Yeah. How long is it before they're 18? Yeah. Anyway, thanks for watching. I hope you guys found the video entertaining, and if you liked it, please like the video, subscribe, all the usual good stuff, and keep in touch. So comment below what your favourite game of the year was, what your dud of the year. If you think we're duds because we liked certain games or didn't like certain games, obviously
tell us why we're wrong. Yeah.
And also,
I'll fight you, but.
And obviously, we didn't play all the games, so if your favourite game is not mentioned, it's because we might not have played it.
I mean, I've got a bit of a backlog of games which I know are supposed to be really good, like Teotihuacan and Gugong, things like that. So I've got them ready to play, but I just haven't read them.
I mean, I've got a stack of games here that still need to be played as well.
You've now got more games you haven't played than you have.
Yeah, probably, yeah. And they just keep coming as well. So, I don't know how that happens.
It's a bloody mystery.
So, anyway, thanks for watching. See you guys later. Bye-bye.